Yay. We are live. Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday, and welcome to the Rebel Roundtable. And I am always fortunate enough to be joined by really cool people and have really fun guests. And today I have Thomas Rosenberg, and he is the founder and Chief Embodiment Officer at Regenerate Coaching. And what was so interesting when Thomas and I connected a couple months ago and we scheduled this was I was fascinated by how he helps executives make decisions because we're often saying yes to things we shouldn't say yes to, and we don't know how to create the alignment in ourselves to do that. And he's much better to explain this than I am, but it just really spoke to me of the things that leaders do that probably are not serving them very well. And so that's why I called this, saying no is leadership. Saying no is a leadership skill that sometimes has to be learned. But thank you, Thomas, for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me on, Jen. It's a pleasure.
Having all kinds of fun. So tell everybody what you do, because I throw words out there, but it's so coming from you.
Well, thank you for that. So, what my work is primarily with founders, senior leaders, and executive teams that are recognizing that there's a challenge, there's a gap, I'll say, between what they're offering or what they intend to do and how they show up under pressure.
Mhm.
So I'm really working, as it says over my shoulder, like change doesn't happen in your head. And so often we prepare the notes, we go through it mentally, we maybe get coaching on how you're supposed to stand, what you're supposed to say, and yet something under pressure doesn't work. And that's because it needs to be embodied. It needs to come from inside the body, and we are what we practice and we learn through the body. And so it's where is it showing up in your body? If I say yes and I lean back,
Mhm.
is that really a yes? Right? There's something else going on in my body, right?
Yeah.
I'm shrinking from something because maybe there's an automatic tendency because I was raised, or maybe society is telling me I need to say yes to something.
So that's
And
interesting that you say that because that physical response is never talked about, like what your
mhm,
physical response is to something. So
exactly.
keep going with that. Sorry to interrupt
Yes.
you with
So
that.
no, it's quite all right. So getting back to what I do to answer that question more succinctly is I'm working with the body and the nervous system to help my clients recognize what happens for them under pressure
Mhm.
and how they can create choice for themselves to align with their action and sorry, align their action with their vision and values under pressure.
Yeah, it's interesting because we talked before about like a centered no, like how
Hmm.
to do that. So talk a little bit about that terminology of a centered no,
Mm,
yes, or maybe.
sure. So not to get too sidetracked here, but I'm trained as a somatic coach, which means I'm working with the whole body, body, mind, and spirit simultaneously. And hence being practical, being body centered, being nervous system aware. And when what we're talking about in this is a practice largely called consent. How
Okay.
do we know, how do we check in with ourselves so that we know what's going on inside in this context? You walk up to somebody and they're just like, every single time I see this person, I get a request and you want to shrink or right? You're like, I really don't want to be here. Maybe if I just turn sideways, they won't see me. And it's like if that's what's going on, and then you're like, oh, hi, and it's a completely different, and then they're like, oh, could you do this thing for me?
Hmm.
And you're just sort of like, really? But at the same time, did you check in with yourself to be able to say, okay, am I leaning back and away? Am I leaning forward, trying to appease? Am I frozen? Can Is there a way for me to come back to what matters most to me and be able to clearly say no?
it's so interesting because I feel, especially lawyers, we talk about the gut feeling. We don't talk about woo a lot. We're very non-wooey people. Um, but we talk about that gut feeling. Like when you have a client, you're like, I
Hmm.
don't want to represent this person, but I also, need the money that comes with representing this person. And we pay attention to that gut feeling, or we're supposed to. But I think what you're talking about is being more intentional about it and recognizing that there's other things going on
Hmm.
that they should be paying attention to, but they maybe not recognizing or aware of.
Yes, and I think this goes well beyond lawyers,
Yeah.
is that we have shaping, from experiencing what we grew up in our family of origin, our caretakers, etc., communities, however that's defined for you geographically, affinity wise, institutions like military, government, schools, healthcare, social norms, and all of these shapings cause us to respond. It's like, oh, well, this is how, when this happens, this is how we're trained, basically. This is the shaping that we get. So it's not even, it goes to, for me, beyond just what professional
Yeah.
training you might have received
Hmm.
that may reinforce tendencies that you already have. But, for me, that, like, going back to your gut feeling, neuroscience has shown that we scan our environment for safety or threat multiple times a second. That's the gut feeling.
Hmm.
And that our lived experience shapes interpretation of those sensations into feelings, which then give rise to emotions. And
Okay.
that's how we're responding. And so we often say yes to things, right? And we try to rationalize it with our brain, but it's like it's already come through the body. You've already had that sinking feeling or that clenching in your
Hmm.
stomach or that heightened breath. So you're squeezing perhaps all the way from the pelvic floor all the way up, and the breath is sitting just below the throat,
Yeah.
right? And you're like, well, what's going on here, And just understanding what's there really gives you space to be able to say, oh, okay, so if I am allowing myself to feel fully what's going on in me, am I afraid to say no? Am I afraid to say yes? What might be possible to say maybe?
Okay.
And I have a client who, because of cultural upbringing, it's really challenging to say maybe.
Okay.
And but maybe could be spacious. It doesn't mean that you have to give an answer. It could be 2 minutes, it could be 2 weeks, it could be 2 years, but eventually that's going to turn into a yes or a no, clearly.
Hmm.
But it gives you space around you to say, in this moment, I can't give you a clear answer.
Yeah. Let me think about it and
Hmm.
figure it out.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of discussion with professionals these days about, setting boundaries and doing all of those things. And it seems like this is actually much deeper than that. It's not just setting a boundary. It's like recognizing underneath what's going on and what the boundary needs to. It's not just the setting a bright line rule for anything.
Mm-hmm. Well, it perhaps it would be better to rephrase it as honoring what your body's boundary is.
Okay, good. And how do they recognize that, or how do they start seeing?
Mm. How do they start seeing that? So, one is just being able in the moment
Mhm.
when you notice, for example, that gut feeling, can you take 30 seconds and just scan the rest of your body and say, what else is going on here? What other sensations? And if you're noticing contraction or
Mhm.
even like a temperature, cold or heat, or um, if you're feeling a directional sensation with the energy flow,
Yeah.
it's like maybe it's like it's moving upwards, maybe it's moving downwards, maybe it's, your stomach's going in all sorts of directions. Like it, just recognizing that, it's like, oh, can you just sit with that and just be with that and saying, okay, so if I listen to this, what is it telling me?
Mm-hmm.
And then also noticing what your automatic response wants to be
Mm-hmm.
and what also feels aligned.
Mm-hmm. Like the idea of, I think so many of us are moving so fast
Hmm.
sometimes that we're just trying to like go boom, 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 make decisions. And like our brain thinks it knows what it wants. And I think 30 seconds feels like a long time to sit and think about something. I know it's not in the grand scheme of things, but it feels like sitting down for 30 seconds, how that would change decisions that are made. I think that's an
Mm.
interesting idea. So,
Hmm. Well, just 30, yes. And you might find that 30 seconds turns into 2 minutes
right.
because you're like, oh, so this is what, and not to say that it needs to turn into 2 minutes, but just to start to honor what your body's already telling you so that
Right.
that can give you greater sense of what is really going on with you and the context you're in the moment and what feels aligned.
Yeah. It's really interesting. So I'm thinking back to like there's a couple of Big Bang Theory episodes because I'm a huge Big Bang Theory fan where like they're flipping a coin and
Hmm.
heads is one way and tails, and how do you feel when it's though they say the opposite way, and then that kind of triggers them to realize they really want the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox or whatever it was on that episode.
Hmm.
But that's almost what I'm thinking sometimes is like, okay, if I say no, how does that make me feel? And if I say yes, how does it make me feel?
Mm.
um, Trying to recognize that.
Hmm. Well, yes, and there's a quote that I'm thinking of,
Yeah.
and to paraphrase it, what does saying no to allow you to say yes to, right?
Mm-hmm.
What does it make space for that you want more of by getting rid of noise?
Yeah.
And that is something that I feel like for many people, that automaticity of saying yes,
Mm-hmm.
right? That person who always comes up to you and it's like, oh, can you do me this favor? Oh, can I, and you're like, really? So, but it's like, if you cut out the distractions
Mm-hmm.
to your attention, because attention is time and time is energy. So, how do we allow that to create choice?
Yeah. So what's from your coaching and your experience, what is like the hidden cost of always saying yes? What is that? Because I feel we talk a lot about like mental health and anxiety and those kinds of things these days, but what's kind of the hidden cost that happens when you
Mm,
always say yes to things or you don't know how to identify this when you should say no?
the hidden cost.
Does it affect our bodies? Does it
Oh,
affect like health? Does it,
mm,
yeah. What is
yeah.
it?
I mean, it's exhaustion.
Yep.
I feel like for some it might be hypervigilance, depending on how the experience that they had growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are constantly hypervigilant, you're running on cortisols.
Yep.
So it's adrenals. It's really exhausting for the body because those chemicals, those processes were designed for life or death flight.
Not
And
answering an
it,
email. That's what you're saying.
but it's not for a long
Yeah, yeah,
term,
yeah.
right? That's what exhausts you. And so, that might cause a whole plethora of other health issues from that could I'm not a physician, so I'm not going
Yeah,
to
yeah,
to
yeah.
guess what those might be, but there could be, if your cortisols are elevated, your adrenals are elevated for an extended period of time, you're going to see other health costs
Right. Yep.
metabolically and so on. And
Mhm.
so you're not going to have the natural reserves. We talk about resilience. That's another story because it is something that you can cultivate, but it's also that in order for you to cultivate it, you need to have a space where your nervous system can calm down.
Right. That makes sense. Is there, so I feel like a lot of people think that if they say no to something,
Hmm.
they're going to damage the relationship of the person who asked. Are there ways to say no to things that don't necessarily damage relationships? Or is that all in our head? Like, do people expect you to say no when you need to say no? And it's in our head that we've created this idea that they're going to be mad at us.
Well, if I were to say no and step back and be here,
Yeah.
right, you would have a very different experience than if I was like, no, right?
Yeah.
And if I did no, right? You can feel that, and for those who are watching, you might be able to even ex sense what it feels like just to see me in different positions. But my point being that when you extend a centered no, you're honoring the dignity of the other person. And it doesn't mean that, if I were to say, would you come over for dinner tonight? And you say no, is that going to damage the relationship with me? Could be, well, you've got the kids' soccer, you've got a deadline, whatever it happens to be. It's like, well, I can't make it tonight.
Mhm.
I can make what if we reschedule for Sunday? And so it's really just saying, well, what is necessary for you to check in with yourself, the context, and honor the dignity of the other person.
Okay.
And that's really the key for how we should practice consent. Yes, no, or maybe.
Mhm. Do you find when you're coaching and you're doing leadership that there are some leaders that easily figure this out and others that really struggle trying to figure out what their body is like? They maybe blocked it for so long because they've been doing this that it's really hard for them to come out of it.
Hmm. Well, in this society, we grow up and we stay here.
Yeah.
And so reconnecting people to their body
Hmm.
is just part of the work that I do.
Yeah.
And, you know, eh, it doesn't matter if you're female bodied or male bodied. It doesn't matter if you're in finance or an attorney or a serial entrepreneur. There's consistency across all of that I have seen. And it's also just fascinating, like a client that I have who's in corporate finance, I feel was attracted because numbers are black and white, and so everything is black and white,
Yeah.
and
Sounds like
maybe has
lawyers.
been the most challenging.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, oh, huh. So just kind of so working in the gray area, but it's also recognizing our bodies are telling us things.
Hmm.
And, if you're not using two-thirds of your data sources,
Hmm.
what are you missing out on?
Do you think some of that is due to the, I don't know how to phrase, like emotional side versus rational? Like people try to think their way through things with their brain, but then they're not listening to the rest of their body because that's what we've been told. Like, don't
Hmm.
let emotions play a part in this. Don't, but really everything we do,
Yes,
emotions play a part in. So do you think
yes,
that's part of the culture that we
absolutely.
grew up in? Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, we make decisions with the heart
Yeah.
and we rationalize that decision with the brain.
Hmm. Okay. I like that. They have to match. They have to get together and make good decisions.
Well, yes, and if you're not aware of what's going on in the heart center when you're making a decision or in your gut, because you have that gut feeling, you're like,
Yeah.
this, so yeah.
So how do you work with teams and leaders? Like, what does your process look like if someone reaches out to you?
Mm. So people are always welcome to reach out and schedule a call just to see if we're the right fit.
Mhm.
but I work with individuals, and that usually starts, well, I usually work with folks for an extended period of time because this takes time. I'll
Yep.
just, and how long somebody, this is not going to be a quick fix in 3 sessions or 6 sessions. Um, so I typically uh, propose that we start with at least 4 months, knowing that that's going to extend, and that, I have clients I've been working with now for 3 years. Um, and so it really depends on what's needed. For teams, I'm working with a cohort of peers. So that's 10 directors, 10 VPs, the whole C-suite, to really help them understand how each of them are showing up
Hmm.
and how that is shaping the team dynamic.
Hmm.
But I'm looking at the team as an individual organism.
Okay.
It might have obviously multiple mouths and ideas and experiences that it's bringing, but I'm looking at what's the development that wants to occur there so that they can all recognize, oh, this is how I respond when this person does this, and that's how this is negatively affecting, or maybe it's actually enhancing the dynamic that they want to see, right? But it's also
Yeah, yeah.
just, it's recognizing that.
I
So
can see
that's
that could
how
be uncomfortable, maybe.
it can't, yeah. Well, it can be, but it's also just understanding. It's like,
Yes.
oh, this is, I have to own my
Yep.
component of it.
Yep.
And
Yep.
then, I also do group workshops, which are typically shorter lived, 2 to 6 hours. It could be a retreat, it could be an afternoon.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. So how do people find you? I see you have your website up there on your background. Is that the best
yes,
way to reach out to
yes,
you?
regenerate.coach is the best way. And then there is a button that you can click right there that'll take you to my scheduling link.
Fantastic. And one last thing on the Rebel Roundtable that we do have a Spotify playlist where we put songs that our guests like to listen to when they want to get pumped up or rebel against
Mm.
things. Do you have a favorite song that you like to put on to put
I
people on the spot?
I
Yeah.
tip not nothing is coming to I don't have one favorite. I'll put
Yeah,
it
yeah,
that way.
yeah. It's funny too because it depends on the day sometimes or what you're doing and what's going on. So, but
Yes,
yes, there
yes.
is a Spotify playlist out there for anyone who wants to go check it out called the Rebel Anthems. So, go check that. Thank you for joining me and nerding out on a Friday morning talking about the emotional side and the full body side of making decisions. I appreciate your time.
My pleasure. I'm so glad I could be here.
And all you lawyers listening, this isn't woo. It is really important and it will make your business so much better if you start saying yes to the right things and no to the wrong things. And so reach out to Thomas and really take advantage of what he's offering. So I will catch you all next Friday. No, next Friday is a holiday. I will catch you all in a couple of weeks for the Rebel Roundtable, Friday mornings at 9 a.m. Pacific. Thanks, everyone.